Hey YouTube, what's up? Big Z here.
I'm Big Kai.
And we are Lost in MPK. What are we doing today, Big
I'm
Kai?
gonna watch something different. I'm excited about this.
Something a little bit,
and
something a little bit different in the world of science. They said this video is gonna blow our minds away. How the universe is way bigger than you think.
Yeah, this is so different than what we usually
Right? We usually do music videos and stuff, but now we get out into space. Everyone thinks, the Earth is this big, and the solar system, and the galaxy,
We're more of
Milky
us.
Way, and then
We're a speck of sand on a huge beach. So that's, in my opinion, that's what I think.
All right. This is gonna tell you something about that speck of sand.
All right.
You ready? Here we go.
You live here on this planet somewhere, and everything that you've ever known
There's
is
LA.
located
That's
right
LA
here.
right there.
But
There's LA
how
right there.
small exactly is Earth when compared to the scale of the entire universe? Let's start by zooming out to where we can see our nearest cosmic neighbor, the Moon. You may think that the Moon is very close to Earth since it dominates our night skies, but in reality the Moon isn't this close to our planet, it's actually about this far away. 384,400 kilometers away from you right now on average. You could fit 30 entire Earths in between this
30
distance,
Earths away.
and if you somehow were able to drive a car at a constant 100 kilometers per hour speed, it would take you about 160 days to drive the entire distance.
Holy crap.
Despite this incredible distance, however, 12 humans have actually set foot here,
half a year of
representing the
driving.
furthest away that any individual
Conspiracy
human
theory,
has
they never
ever
landed
been
on the
away
moon.
from the Earth,
Yeah, they did.
and one of humanity's greatest achievements. This is what the Earth would look like from there if you were standing there with them. And if you wanted to communicate with somebody back at home, it would take a message about 2.5 seconds to travel between you and them, since that's how fast the speed of light can travel at. This is a photo that was taken on Mars, and that tiny dot that you see there is Earth as seen from the Martian surface.
Hey,
on
we
average,
just landed on
Mars
Mars.
is an incredible 225
We landed on
million
Mars today.
kilometers away from Earth, but
Again.
that distance
That's
can
right.
be as high as 401 million kilometers. That means that whenever humanity finally gets around to landing a human on the planet, that
125
person will be
million.
986 times further away from Earth than the astronauts who landed on the moon were.
Almost
In
1,000
addition,
times.
the time delay for sending a message from Mars back to Earth isn't just 2.5 seconds, it's actually more like 20 minutes
Wow.
each direction, which would render instant communication in the event of an emergency impossible. When we zoom out even further away, we can find the Voyager 1 space probe, which is the furthest away man-made object from Earth. It is currently located 138 AUs from the Earth. AU meaning Astronomical Unit, which is the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which means that Voyager 1 is 138 times further away from us than the Sun is. At some point on its long voyage, Voyager 1 turned its camera around and took this photograph. It may not look like much at first, but in my opinion, this is the greatest single photograph ever taken in all of human history. This tiny, pale blue dot is Earth, and I don't think that anybody has ever said something as amazing about this as Carl Sagan when he said, "If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and every forager. Every hero and coward. Every creator and destroyer of civilizations. Every king and every peasant. Every young couple in love. Every hopeful child. Every mother and every father. Every inventor and explorer. Every teacher of morals,
Martin Luther King.
every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader,
King Jong-un.
every saint and sinner in the
Japan.
history of our species lived there, on a mote
In a
of dust
dot.
suspended in a sunbeam. Voyager 1 is
What are
currently
you saying
traveling
about a
at
grain of sand?
17 kilometers every single second, but even at that speed, it won't break out of the reach of our solar system for another 30,000 years. Once we go beyond the solar system, we arrive in our interstellar neighborhood. Here we shift to the light year unit of measurement, which is the distance that light travels in a full Earth year, or about 9.461 trillion kilometers. The star Proxima Centauri here is the closest other star to us other than our sun, but it's still 4.24 light years away from us.
That's
to
the
put that into
closest sun.
perspective, if it was heading in the right
The closest
direction,
star.
it would still take
4
Voyager
light
1
years.
over 70,000 years to reach it. In other words, if you drove your car at 100 kilometers an hour like in our previous example to the moon, it would take over 6 times longer than the entire age of the universe just to finally get there.
What's the age of the
wouldn't
universe?
Even exist still when you arrived. When we zoom out
15
even further,
billion?
we can see the entire Milky Way galaxy, inside of which Earth is located right here. This yellow dot is the furthest extent of humanity's radio broadcasts throughout history, which means that any possible aliens who live outside of this range are totally unaware of humanity's
Which I don't
presence.
even exist yet.
It's complete
'cause our
silence
radio
outside
waves.
of this yellow dot as far as we are currently aware, but the entire galaxy spans over 100,000 light years from end to end. There are over 100 billion stars and over 100 billion planets inside of our galaxy. But you have never seen the full glory of the galaxy at night, because 99% of the stars that you can see with the naked eye are limited to this small, tiny region right
That's all we
here.
see? The big Milky
But
Way
even
galaxy?
this
That's all we
massive
see when we're out there
galaxy
in
is nothing compared to
the
rest of
mountains
what's
fishing.
out there. Zooming out even further, and we arrive at the local group of galaxies, a collection of 54 different galaxies that is about 10 million light years across. But zooming out even further, and we can see the Virgo supercluster, of which the local group here is just a tiny segment of.
Jeez.
There are at least 100 other
Clusters.
groups of
Everything's
galaxies
in
just like
clusters.
our own local group inside of here, and
So
the
we're in
distance
there,
from
and
one
then
side to the
all that.
other is a mind-numbing 110 million light years. But even the massive Virgo supercluster is
110.
nothing but a quiet and tiny lobe of the great Laniakea
He's like a little
supercluster,
spectrum.
an
Look at that,
enormous
dude.
structure that is home to our galaxy as well as 100,000 other galaxies. The distance from one side to the other is 520 million light years, but from even there we can zoom out all the way to the entire observable universe and see that even the titanic Laniakea supercluster is just a tiny and insignificant part of everything. This is the observable universe, and it contains everything that we know of. It is home to at least 2 trillion different and individual galaxies, which together contain more stars than there are grains of sand on the entire Earth. The distance from Earth to any side of the observable universe is 46.5 billion light years, which means that the entire width is 93 billion light years across. What's perhaps even more interesting, however, is what actually lies beyond the observable universe. Keep in mind that the observable universe is all that we can currently see, and it's entirely possible that the rest of the universe outside of it is vastly larger and more fantastic than we can possibly ever imagine. We simply don't know what else is out there, because the light from these incredibly distant places has not yet had enough time in the universe's history to reach us yet back on Earth. And the light from some places may never reach us at all. Because some parts of space very far away from Earth are expanding away from us faster than the speed of light, that means that the light from these places will never, in an infinite amount of time, reach Earth. Meaning that even if humanity is eternal and exists forever, there will still be an unknown number of places in the universe that we will never know about or ever see. So, it is very likely that as unbelievably enormous as it seems, the observable universe is just a tiny slice of what we can currently see of the entire universe. According to the theory of cosmic inflation that was proposed by Dr. Alan Guth, if it is assumed that cosmic inflation began at 10 to the negative 37th of
What
a
number is
second
that?
after the Big Bang, and with the assumption that the size of the universe before inflation began was equal to its age times the speed of light, then this would seem to suggest that at the present day, the entire universe is 150 sextillion times larger than the observable universe. That number, for reference, looks like this,
150.
with this many zeros. Let this number sink in for just a moment.
156
This would be
trillion.
similar to you thinking that the entire observable universe, everything that you could see, was the size of a light bulb, but then realizing that in reality the entire universe is larger than the former planet of Pluto. Imagine a light bulb in the center of Pluto, but we inside the light bulb were totally unaware that Pluto existed outside of it, and that's a similar situation to this. We are all so unbelievably small, but you shouldn't worry, because all that means is that there is so much left out there for us to discover together. This video was made possible by Squarespace. If you
Holy crap. crap!
How you like that?
Unbelievable. I thought,
What
I
does it do?
realized
What does that do to your
huge-
brain?
It makes me wonder.
Are we the size of a grain of sand or even smaller?
Oh my gosh. I don't know what to say. It's amazing. How do they like conceptualize all this ideas?
It's those very smart people
I know.
with high technology instrumentation floating around
Stephen
space.
Hawking, who unfortunately passed away, was it this year?
This
this
past
year?
year? This past year, yeah.
Theorized one of our greatest concerns is what? Aliens? Is that what he said?
I don't know. No, I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember. Everything's
His greatest
just
concerns was
AI.
no. Oh, that was one of the things, but he had said something about us on this planet maybe existing another 1,000 years tops before we use resources,
Yeah.
and we need to get to another planet.
So we're working on Mars.
And we're working on Mars, right? And
Oh my gosh.
we're using new telescopes to find other exoplanets.
XO.
And there's plenty of planets out there, right? It said even just in our galaxy, over 100 trillion
Something like that, yeah.
planets with over 100 trillion suns, and that was just in our
A little speck.
little tiny speck. And then there was a local cluster, and then the super cluster, and then the super cluster.
So, well, one theory is like we're expanding so fast, then we're going to get collapse, right? That theory.
There's that theory, but my gosh, how big is it gonna get? Because that's this big already.
And we only admit the galaxy was 6 billion.
150 sextillion,
Jeez,
like the actual
150
size, because
sextillion.
we're here and everything else is this
Holy
big.
crap!
150 times of that big thing that we saw, the observable universe. Where does that put us, dude? Where does that?
We're dust.
Where does that put us? Right?
There we are.
There is everybody. I like that part. Everything that you've ever known, every person, every theory, every dictator, every religion, all in this
Little thing.
little tiny.
That was a cool picture, though.
That was an awesome picture. That was a picture
Where's the
of
dot? No,
Voyager turning around,
That's
right?
really nice.
Oh man. Well, you say your world is what's important to you and everything. You're in the center of it, but you're in the center of what in reality?
Yeah.
You're in this big giant universe, and oh man, it's just like you said, it's hard to wrap your brain around it. Like I love videos like that. Like
great.
Not only do they teach you something, but they kind of make you
Put you in
think different.
perspective.
Yeah, they give you a different perspective. And, I said when it said about the Milky Way, what we see of the Milky Way is just like 2% of it.
Yeah.
It made me think like when we go fishing with the family, when we go to the
see
mountains,
I see a little band.
and we see that massive band of stars out in the mountains that we don't see here in
That's
the city.
part of that circle, huh?
And that's only
Yeah.
2 or 3% of it. Everything else we don't see.
That's amazing, though.
And if that big giant thing is only 2%, what is really out there?
Don't want to know.
Oh man, no, we
gotta go Star Trek.
Yeah, we need spaceships already. We need starships already. Starships to go.
Light speed. Here we go.
Warp 3.
Warp 3. Yeah.
Make it so. All right, guys. Let us know what you think about the size of the universe. Now that you know, maybe you already knew. Give us your comments and your opinions and your scientific theories down below, and we'll see what we get.
Yes.
See you guys in the next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.